Welcome back to the Stupid Nerdcast. Today we have Zach as Raziel something, and Juan as level 20 Cleric, and me, Jordan, as Stupid Nerdman. Guest starring Spider-Man, who's not actually here.
You should never say that he's not actually here. I mean, you should just introduce him as there, and then people just wonder why his voice isn't like there.
Okay, so
Is he one of us in disguise?
We'll just have random gaps of silence and just be out of nowhere be like, yeah, I totally agree with that, Matt. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, anytime there's too long of a break, we just go like, thanks, Matt.
That's a great idea. We'll do that from now on.
Splice his voice together to like say something stupid.
Yeah, I need a long clip of him saying shit.
You know, we could probably go on his YouTube channel or on his Fiverr and get a bunch of that shit, because that's what he does. He does voice acting.
Yeah.
That's why he can't do this very important thing with us.
We should have him
be like, oh, what do you think, Matt? And he'll be like, I think it's good.
Yeah, he should send us like a sample stream, and then I just cut it apart of him saying words like very spread about.
That's a great idea.
So it's like an easy cut.
I'll make sure he watches the beginning of this podcast so that he knows our idea.
Okay.
So go ahead and start your position, Zach.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the Dota update. So first, they introduced a new character, and I'm going to link you guys the page so you can get a look of her.
Is she not a regular Dota character? Or you're talking about in the game, the new update in the game?
Yeah. What she looks like in game.
Okay.
Draenei Paladin?
She does look a lot like a Draenei Paladin. This is very true. This also, I guess, gives you a quick look at like how their update page looks and how fucking cool it is, and it shows you all this shit. So anyway, Dota did do a big update. They brought out a new character. She's a melee carry who is a strength hero, which means she will have a boatload of HP. And her abilities are a bit funky. Like they take a bit of time to cast, but they're very like good for her second ability is like a positioning ability. Her first ability is a stun, but it has like a really long wind up. And then her fourth ability, which is the one I want to talk about because Juan knows this ability. It's fucking Athena's dive from Smite.
Nice.
With the difference of if like one of the things that I've seen as design choices between Dota and Smite is that a character like Athena in Dota would either be a carry or an offlane and not a support. Just because of how Dota's item functionality works. So like she does play a bit. I guess she plays a bit like Athena too, because she's very fucking tanky. She's really tanky, very easy to get shitloads of HP. Has amazing stat gain, which I know you guys don't understand any of what that means, but it basically means that she's always like pretty good. She has pretty good mana gain. She has really good agility gain for a strength hero, so she'll attack pretty quick, and she has tons of HP.
Tons of HP.
Now, all that sounds like, too good. Is Dota victim of the whole making, new characters just blatantly OP so people will buy them, and then, nerfing them a week later? Because that's what LoL and freaking Smite does all the time.
You don't buy any characters in Dota.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They're all free.
Oh.
Dota's compensated completely through tournaments and cosmetics.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is one of the cool things about Dota is the fact that
and Dota Plus. Dota Plus does exist. It's a subscription service for training wheels. Yeah, so the thing about Dota when it releases a new characters do have a bit of a tendency of being slightly overpowered, and it's usually not because the character is overpowered, as like people don't know how to play against it. Usually is the first reason why it wins a bunch. Then it becomes people learn how to play against it, and then the character either gets really nerfed, or as in like nothing stat-wise will have changed, but the character suddenly can't play anymore because they're just not good anymore. Because people found out how to defeat her. Like her, for example, she's vulnerable to stuns during all of her windups, which means she needs a Black King bar, which is the item that removes stuns or protects you from them. But yeah, in general, Dota characters sometimes come out overpowered or drastically underpowered, and it usually is just because the character needs to be tested and it needs to be played on like a massive scale of its release.
To actually see how the character actually works, rather than just going through the little testing stuff and then it doesn't actually work that way in real life.
Yeah. So the character you do not consider a character balanced until they're added to Captain's Mode.
Captain's Mode being like the ranked system, or
the Captain's Mode is the tournament system.
Gotcha.
I don't remember if everybody in Captain's Mode is playable. Like, I don't remember if ranked restricts you to who's playable in Captain's Mode or not. I don't think it does, but there is a Captain's Mode in ranked if you get like a decent amount of people to come and play with you. And that's considered most balanced Dota as Captain's Mode. Because it gives you like the whole picks and bans thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there are picks and bans. There's always picks, but there are bans in regular Dota. But the way they work is like you do a suggest ban, and then Dota rolls a dice, or I guess flips a coin because it's 50-50. Flips a coin, and then like every time it would turn up heads, that character gets banned.
Why?
What it is that you, as the 10 players in the match, click on a character and go suggest for ban. So it's like the 10 characters you don't want to face. You just click those. You just click like one of them. I think each player only gets one character they don't want to face, and then Dota flips a coin and decides whether or not you're allowed to face it.
So is it entirely feasible for like all 10 to get banned?
I don't think so. I think it's on average you usually get 3 banned. And mostly that's because apparently in pubs most players don't even acknowledge that that's part of the system and just ignore it.
Nice.
So it's like it exists, but like I think most people ignore it. Every time I've played pubs after it was introduced, like 2 people suggested bans and nobody got banned, or 1 guy got banned. But yeah, they exist. The main other changes were map changes to make it like a lot easier to move around towers, like give you more hiding spaces. Because Dota, unlike League, because League has like grass.
Yeah.
Dota just has trees, so you have to like move behind the tree to block line of sight, like in Warcraft 3 kind of thing.
Okay.
So you have to do that to like block line of sight in Dota, or you go like to high ground from low ground, stuff like that. So if anything you could do or had to do in Warcraft 3 to change line of sight, you have to do in Dota.
Anything you could do, I could do better.
So basically what they've done to the map, which is fucking changed the map like crazy, was that they spread out and added like a bunch of trees around every tower. So it's easier for you to prepare when somebody's like coming down on a big tower push, because you can have like your whole team like hiding behind those trees, and then have no idea until they're like committed to the push.
I was about to say, like, you can do some cheesy stuff like that in LoL too. Like, you and your freaking jungler are gonna be just sitting in the brush, and they go to like attack the tower, and all of a sudden you just come up behind them.
Yeah. It's much easier to do now in Dota than it was before. Because in LoL, there's been a lot of times, like between the 2 games, there's been a lot of times where one would it be easier to like jump people at a tower than the other one was. And like right now, they've made it a lot easier to jump people around towers. It also makes it like less. In some ways, it makes it more safe because there's also like bigger open areas around stairs, which are important in Dota versus the other games because of the high ground, low ground vision difference. So with a larger open area around stairs, it means somebody in the high ground has further that he has to run to actually catch you in lane. Before, like, so you have like a much broader time to actually get a chance of seeing them. Which is a bit nicer because it'll clean up fucking some of the ganks that used to happen. Then they also like moved all the fucking jungle camps because of course they had to.
I think every game just does that. Just like, new season, let's just shuffle the jungle for no reason.
Yeah, I'm sure the fucking guy who works on Dota has worked on Dota for so long that like he is like good at knowing when he can minutely change something and it drastically changes the meta. And it's ridiculous. So he's added and removed, I think, a bunch of like stone pillars with like an eyeball on top for warding spots. So like there's a bunch of them where they in Dota, he like I guess it was like a couple patches ago, he put in a bunch of stone pillars where he had like an eyeball on top for you to know that you're supposed to ward there, and he like took a bunch of them out and he put a bunch of new ones in. So it's one of those things that either helps newer players, but at the same time it also it helps newer players for them to be in, and then it changes the meta when they're moved. Because now it's like, oh, it's harder to ward here. Because it changes a lot of different ward spots. Because some of them would be like, oh, this is the best spot to ward, and that's why they are that way. Yeah, which is cool. He didn't move the Roche pit, Roshan being like the big objective boss who gives you a second life. Because that's how Dota plays. Which is good, I guess, because I guess the Roche pit isn't affecting wins versus one side over the other as much as it used to.
Why would it affect wins one side or the other?
Because of
like
where he is placed.
But he
used to be placed on the dire side of the jungle, which meant that there was always a dire advantage. And then he was moved to where he is now, I think. Or he was moved a few times, and then now he's where he is. And I think it's a slight radiant advantage at the Roshan pit, and it's because of like the way the two staircases go down towards it.
I see.
But like, yeah, I think it's enough. Like, it's a little enough of an advantage that it's not worth changing the whole map over. Or his position over the whole map over. But yeah, also the cool-ass shit thing that you can do on their update page is you can scroll down to where they do the map changes. You can move this little slider across and see how the map has changed. It's fucking awesome. But it also like leveled out some of the terrain, it looks like made it just look nicer also.
I see.
There's so much fucking tree room now. But besides that, they changed a few mechanics. There's now like, oh god. So you know, like how in Smite there's buff camps.
Yeah.
In Dota there are no buff camps. The only buffs are rune spawns that spawn on either side of the river near mid lane. Okay. And it's random which one it is. And but what they've changed, they spawn like every 2 minutes. So what they've changed is that the first 2 minutes of the game, or the first 4 minutes of the game, those no longer spawn. So the first 4 minutes of the game, which usually could determine like literally the outcome of the whole game based on which power rune spawned, it no longer exists. So instead, it's going to be like a recovery rune, which you like pick up and you get some mana and health up, which is super good. And then at 6 minutes, it goes back to power runes, because 6 minutes should be enough time for your middle to be in a safe place where power runes aren't going to drastically sway the middle lane anymore. And then they changed bounty runes, but bounty runes are their own fucking thing, and I don't want to explain them. And then, because there was a bunch of dead levels in World of Warcraft, in Dota 2, there was a bunch of dead levels where you couldn't level anything, and you were just waiting to try and hit 30. They've spread out the reward that you get for hitting 30. It's now broken up across the last 4 levels instead of all at once. And every level that was before empty, you can now give yourself +2 to all stats, which means everybody's going to have like more health, more mana, more attack speed at the end of the game, and armor, I guess, which is cool. And then the big buff is them changing how the fuck these stupid outposts work, which, sure, I fucking understand this. The outposts now, I don't know what the fucking outpost is, but you like capture it and it gives you experience. And now every minute it will give you experience instead of every 10 minutes, which is what it used to do.
Oh, jeez. It's a big spike in
difference,
uptime.
Yeah. So the way they work is that controlling 2 outposts is no different than controlling 1, but controlling 1 is what you need to get the buff up for it. So if you control both of them, you deny the enemy that much experience, but it's not so much that it should lose you the game. It's only like 2 experience a level, or a minute, which is not very much, but I guess it could make the difference. It could help out supports a lot, because supports get fucked a lot. And then I think there's like another one. Oh, here it is. The giant one is the assist gold for hero kills. Will now use the relative net worth between the 2 teams, which is very important for sports because they often get a lot of assists, but not always a lot of kills. And it means that their bounty for killing somebody can be increased if you are more, or it will be increased based on how far you guys are on the back foot. So like if your teams fight each other and both of you lose most of your teams, but like a couple guys stay alive and you kind of hold off, if you're the losing team, you get more gold out of it. Basically guaranteed now, which is much better. I think this used to be a thing and then they took it out because it was too rubber bandy, but it seems different now than it was before. It seems more like incremental change. Then they give you a TP scroll. Okay, in Smite, and I don't remember if LoL does this, but in Smite, whenever you wanted to go back to base or anything, you just press B.
Yeah.
In Dota, you have to use the Town Portal scroll, which has like a 60-minute cooldown, or 60-second cooldown or something.
60 minutes? That's gonna be the whole game.
Fucking whole game. Yeah, no, it's got a 60-second cooldown or a 90-second cooldown, something like that. And you have a special slot just for them. And now, every time you die, it'll give you a free one. Which is useful. And then it means that the only ones you're buying are the ones you're buying to, like, go jump into a lane and save someone. Also, unlike the ones, it functions like a combination of, I guess, like the B return to base plus the teleport trinket or whatever it is in Smite, because you can teleport 2 towers as well as back to base.
Okay. Yeah,
and then,
like being able to teleport to a tower is like one of your summoner powers you have to take. And
yeah.
It's like a solid 2-3 minute cooldown or something.
Yeah, in Dota, it's just built into the game. You just have TP scrolls, so you have to buy them for 90 gold.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But they all like share a cooldown, which is like, you know, it's just like you have to time it correctly, because if you TP to the wrong place, and then you won't be able to do it to get to the other side of the map, and a fight starts, and you're just like fucked. Which is also what makes some heroes much better, because they can just like roll around the map like it's nobody's business. What's his name? Nature's Prophet. He has a built-in TP that shares a separate cooldown.
Yeah. He's my favorite character, Malfurion.
Basically, Nature's Prophet runs one of two ways. If he's a bad Nature's Prophet, you never know where he is, and if he's a good Nature's Prophet, you also kind of never know where he is.
One, it's you never know where he is, where he's always in a terrible place. The other is you never know where he is, where you're actually afraid.
Like, yes, okay. Let me clarify. If he's a bad Nature's Prophet, and he's on your team, you don't know where he is. If he's a good Nature's Prophet, the enemy team doesn't know where he is. That's how it is. Like, basically, if you have Nature's Prophet on your team, you'll generally know where he is, but kind of not care, and it'll just be that you're winning the game if he's good, and you'll be drastically losing the game if he's bad. Because he's like a dead character if he's bad. It's fucking terrible. But if he's good, like, he's like six people at once.
He's like sex people at once, too.
Yeah, he's like sex people at once.
Now, I know in, like, some of the MOBAs I played, like, Smite wasn't too bad about it, but I know League was really bad about it. But, like, if someone had a good early game, they could pretty much snowball super hardcore, and, like, there's nothing your entire team could do against, like, some champions. Does Dota kind of suffer from that, too?
It does and doesn't. And the problem of why that's hard to judge is, and it did a lot more last patch, which is why the rune change that I mentioned like 10 minutes ago, that minor change to the thing was because some mid lanes were snowballing so hard off a single rune at like 2 minutes. They'd get like double damage. The fucking power runes are so broken. So one of them's double damage. One's like uncapped speed. One's fucking 2 illusions, which is like the weakest one, and then like one cuts your mana and cooldowns down by like 60%, and then one makes you invisible. Like, those are all the power runes in fucking Dota. So if you got a double damage rune at 2 minutes, basically you won middle. And winning middle at that early stage could fucking snowball you into the winning the game, and nobody could do anything about it.
Right, because you get better creeps and everything, and you already took out the towers. You could literally just rush middle and ignore the other 2 lanes and probably...
Well, winning middle usually is just taking down the first tower. That's what winning middle is. Either that or controlling the map. Because mid has... So, Dota's a bit weird. Because there are 2 main roles in mid. There's the farmer, and then there's the like playmaker. And a playmaker controls the map, but a farmer basically sits in mid until the mid game, and then just raffle stomps every team fight. And the reason you pick either one is either determined by who your enemy team is playing, or who you guys have on your side as to like, which supports do you have? Like, are they going to be able to gank enough to where the mid lane's going to have basically a free lane for the start? And stuff like that. So, it can change a bit, like but that's like generally the 2 people you put in mid. A farmer would be somebody like Dragon Knight. He basically just sits there and smacks creeps, and that's all he does until he hits level 6, turns into a dragon, and takes all your towers. And that's why you put him middle, because that's all he has to do. But there's also people like Storm Spirit, who he wants to hit 6 and then basically control the map. And he wants to like zoom around and gank people all game. But like, you would put both of them mid, but you probably wouldn't put them mid against each other, because I think Storm Spirit wins that matchup. But anyway, you just sort of like judge based on the matchup of who's going mid, and then like you pick your mid accordingly. But mid is usually the one, if somebody's going to snowball, that's usually where they snowball from.
Snowball down the mid.
The only people who like, because they're I know a lot of times it'll feel that way if you're a carry and you get like a really good start, but that's usually down to the player's decisions, and if you're like a good enough player, you maybe can shut them down before they reach that point.
Right.
Whereas, which is, in some other games, I know that sometimes that's just a bit harder. But it's
like in League 5v5s, like if your team had a pulse and some guy got fed early on, you guys could play it safe, try and set him up in a CC chain, and you'd be able to shut him down. But like threes, yeah, there was no amount of CC or anything that could help you against like a fed Tryndamere. Like he was gonna just rip your team apart and be unkillable the whole time.
Yeah, there are some carries who feed so much faster than others. Like, there's like it used to be. I don't know. The last time I played, it was still there was like a little window where if you were playing like Phantom Assassin, and there was a way to play her. Phantom Assassin is her model is a legally distinct from Maiev. Because that's who I think her model was in Dota 1, was Maiev. So she's a crit hero. So her ultimate is literally a passive crit. Like that's all it does. And like her main thing is that if you can build her, this was the thing. Dota's meta changed a few times, so it may not be doable anymore. You would build her like a single tank item that would block damage and give her really high HP regen, and a piece of a armor reduction item. And in Dota, the whole item system is completely different than like most of those games. I think League's the closest to it, but like Smites is way different. In Dota, like you buy like each individual piece of an item, and then when all the items are in your inventory, it combines them to make the upgrade item.
Okay.
And it'll usually be an upgrade of all its stats. So the item that reduces the person you're attacking's armor will usually have a item that you can buy for like 300 gold versus like the 1600 that the full item costs. Or no, I think it's like 3300 that the full item costs, and it will just give you like -3 armor instead of like -7, which is a huge difference. But yeah, so you'd buy like that one, you'd buy like boots, and you'd buy like the shield, and you would it was like about 7 minutes into the game or something, like just about when you hit 6. It's between like, no, I guess it's about 9. It's between like 9 and 11 minutes, where if anybody fought you, they would lose. Like literally nobody could 1v1 you, and some people can't even 3v1 you because you are literally like so tanky and so hard to kill, and you can fucking one-shot people if you get a lucky crit. And I had one of these games, and I wish I still had the replay so I could like cut together that little clip of it. But there's this one moment where they were fighting. It was 5 people, right? And they were fighting my team. Like one of them dies. I think 3 members of my team die, and it's just me and one other guy. And there's just like a bunch of people, and they're around their middle guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can fucking take all 5 of them. Or all 4 of them. And my last guy's like running the fuck away. He's like, I'm fucking out of here. So I jump on the last guy, their middle guy. And everybody on their team's like, no, this is fucking stupid. This character's dead. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I went to fucking I can fight at 6 minutes build. And it's 6 minutes. And their fucking middle died. He died so fast. The second he died, like you could tell visibly that they all panicked, because it was so fast that they went from we can kill this Phantom Assassin to this Phantom Assassin just fucking murdered our middle, and like 2 of them start to turn around, but like before they can finish turning around, I've already killed like the other guy, so it's just like the 2 of them trying to run away by themselves, and like only one of them gets away, and he has like 10% HP left. I was like, you fucking idiots. Why did you turn and fight me? You guys should have ran the second I jumped on Storm Spirit. It was so fucking funny. It's really funny because there's like just these tiny moments in Dota where like the one wrong mistake and the entire enemy team like can just fall apart, and then they're just like, fuck. And they don't know what to do anymore. It's so funny watching people panic in Dota. I love it. I think it's why I kind of like to play carries, because there's like a good point. I like to fight fighty carries, because there's like that good point, that like right there in the middle point, where if you hit it and you hit it and you got the right items, you got the right build, you got the right everything you need. Oh, fuck. And then, like, the enemy team just starts to crumple because they panic and don't know what to do. Oh, so good. It's such a good feeling. It's like the...
Power high.
Yeah. And in Smite, to get, like, a similar feeling is, like, when you... If you're playing fucking... I guess it was Season 6 or something, when like, Berserker's Shield just first came out and you played Bologna. Like, that was a fucking carry power high. That's fucking gross. It's so much fun to do that shit. Because everybody's like, oh, I can fight Bologna 1v1. And I'm like, I got Berserker Shield. You are fucked. I don't think you understand. They hadn't, like, you know, whenever I went into, like, an arena or assault or something and I got Bologna, I was like, oh my god, I don't think you guys understand how strong this fucking shield is. Iris hasn't balanced it yet. You guys are gonna cry.
Yeah, man. Some of those more unique warrior items on the right warrior, like Bologna's a good one. Osiris can be fucking deadly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when Berserkers was a fucking thing. Fuck Berserkers. That was such a good shield. I fucking loved it. Also, I noticed that's a huge thing that's not in Smite is, like, the melee carry.
Yeah, no.
Like, there's some assassins who can kind of pull it off. There's some warriors who can kind of pull it off. But again, like, you're not really, like, a carry in the same way that, like, a fucking hunter or a fucking Freya is. Or a Saul. Like, you're just not there. But it is still really funny to get one in Assault and just start steamrolling people and people not know what to do because they start panicking. Fucking people panicking in those games gets them killed so much, it's funny. It's like, you can win this game, but not if you panic.
Yep.
My favorite...
You'd actually use your abilities.
Yeah. My favorite was, like... Was it... What season are we on now? 8? I think it was season 6? Was where fucking Alposh's Open the Crypts or whatever it is, his ultimate, where it didn't have healing reduction on it. Oh my god, that was fucking broken. I would just play Hercules and I would just slam the ground and walk at Alposh and he'd fucking cry. Every game, he just fucking cry. I just walk straight through it, knock him up, and knock him back into my team until he dies. It's like fucking great. That poor guy. Every game, he was like, every single team fight, he was like, leave me alone, Hercules. At the end of the game, he was fucking crying in all chat. He's like, Hercules, why didn't you leave me alone? And I was like, because if I killed you, I won the fight. Fucking Alposh in Assault was like... He's either so good or he's so fucking bad that the enemy team just raffle stomps you.
It really just depends on whether or not you have people to kind of either keep pressure off you or protect you, or because he has nothing to protect himself or really save himself in any way.
Yeah, there's
anybody closes that gap, he's done.
Yeah. There's fucking one of the great combinations in Smite, which I don't know why this works, but it does, is so you can buy the hammer, right? There's a Runeforged hammer. I don't know if it does this anymore because I haven't played in like a season and a half. But there was the Runeforged hammer, and if you carry the Runeforged hammer, somebody suffering from a crowd control effect would take increased damage, right?
Yeah. Once upon a time, yeah.
So you put the Runeforged hammer on Scotty, and she puts the circle on the ground under what's his name? Jormungandr.
Mm-hmm.
Jormungandr does not suffer from the crowd control effect of her ice things where he slides around, but he does suffer from the crowd control effect that gives you the bonus to Runeforged hammer. So he's stuck there on top of your ice thing, cannot move, and fucking Kaldir eats him. And there's literally nothing he can do. He cannot out-tank that damage no matter what build he is. It's so funny. I don't know if any of that works anymore. That could have been patched out a few times.
Yeah, I don't think RuneForge does that anymore. I forget what it does these days, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's gone.
Because it was so good against him because he's so stupid. Like his thing is so stupid because it also like it's when he can't be crowd controlled, right? When he suffers a crowd control that he can't suffer from, he takes increased damage. So you get that on top of the Runeforged, and like that's why you fucking just eat him because he can't fucking do anything about it. Like he causes himself to take more damage, and he can't like get away from the thing that's causing him to take more damage. It's hilarious, fucking Jormungandr. But yeah, so I did try out the new hero in a bot match to like try and get a feel for her, and then I couldn't get a feel for her because fucking my bots just fed until they were 0 and 25. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I should, I don't know, do players with bots search and then try her out that way if I want to play bots. So you'll just get raffle stomped by one guy and then I lose the game because I can't out carry a super fed carry plus a super fed mid.
It's always funny how like the enemy bots just seem just that little bit smarter than the friendly bots.
I know what it is, and it's because they can't coordinate with you. Like their AI doesn't understand like you properly. So they can coordinate with each other very well, but they can't coordinate with you very well, and that causes them to fuck up. Because stuff like, for example, if you want to stun someone, and then you would like a bot to follow up stun them, they might do it. But if a bot stuns you, his ally bot is going to follow up stun you. Like little things like that is like what will eventually determine the outcome of the game, which is why you like lose that way.
Yeah, I remember freaking League had like their advanced mode bots or whatever, and I was like, all right, they can't be that bad, and they weren't until like about mid game, and then like you'd roll up and like just perfect computer synchronization, they'd all hit you with all their CCs and abilities all at once, and you're just dead.
Yep.
It's like, yep, that's the ideal situation right there.
Yeah, it was I had a few moments like that when I was practicing Dawnbreaker where that just fucking happened to me, and I was like, fuck. I'd roll up, fucking stream of bots. Like the funny thing was that I was alive for like 80 seconds, and I was like, if these were players on my team, this enemy team could actually like suffer damage because they would turn around and realize that I'm not dead for like forever. It took so long to kill me. I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, if this was a fucking player match, people would fucking understand that they could trust in my ability to stay alive.
Right.
Like, oh fuck, you're still alive, and then they fucking bail me out. So many times in Dota where you just like do that and like the entire game turns around. Whereas I don't know, like, to me Smite never felt as I guess, would it be rubber bandy? I guess it's not really rubber bandy in Dota, but it sort of feels a bit like a rubber band kind of feeling, like where if you take the wrong fight like twice, even no matter how far ahead you are, you can still fucking lose the game like really bad.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Smite, it generally felt like if at least like two people could get away from the fight, a bad fight, then you're probably fine.
Yeah, they could probably hold the line if they played smart enough.
Yeah. Whereas in Dota, like you lose like 2 fights, and even if they're like almost even trades, if the enemy team is the losing team, like if the losing team roughly wins, okay, in a Dota team fight, the winning team has to kill more players. I guess that's because of the new statistical change. It has to kill more players to win the fight. If like 3 people die on each side, the losing team won. Which is kind of ridiculous to think about. Because it means that there's like always kind of comeback potential. As long as you're breaking even, you are actually winning.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the fun parts about Dota is like if you can get people motivated to realize that you have not lost this fight yet, like this game yet. I mean, it like can honestly turn around so easy.
That's the hard part of like some of the MOBAs. Like the enemy team will get like 3 or 5 kills, and you already have people spamming surrender. It's like no, like there's still a half hour to go.
Yeah, there's so many games in fucking Smite where that happened to me. At 10 minutes, everybody's trying to surrender. I'm like, we're not even behind. Like, this is at worst even.
Like they're up like 3 kills and 500 gold. If you guys don't think you can make that up, you don't need to be playing this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one where at 10 minutes, the guy tried to fucking surrender. We were like 7 kills ahead, and he just ran it by himself and died. And then he like tries to fucking surrender because of that. And I'm like, the fuck, dude? You're the one who ran it by yourself. Give me some fucking credit. I'd have saved you if I thought you were worth saving. So many times in Smite, I've actually saved people for that like exact reason. I do really like Dota sometimes, and Smite 2, I guess, a little bit. I think they've permanently soured my taste towards Warcraft PvP. I've just played them too much, and then it's like, yeah, you want to go back to Warcraft PvP? And it's like, not really. I mean, like, besides everything, like, the main ideas of why I wouldn't want to go back would be, like, like, gearing and, like, having the right talent spec, learning how to actually PvP again, and learn how to actually play in a PvP match, and figure out how I want my hotkeys adjusted and shit. Besides all of that, it's also a really, really old engine that they're running everything off of, whereas like the Dota source engine feels so smooth and nice to play. It just like in that sense, it's not even comparable. Dota plays so smoothly. It has some weird clunky shit, which is pretty funny. One of the things in Dota, in LOL, in Heroes of the Storm, but not in Smite, is the attack move shit that you can do. And like in Dota, you like have to do it. In Heroes of Storm, you never have to do it. And I've played with somebody who played a bunch of League, and he played Heroes of the Storm with me, and he didn't know that it was a thing. And I was like, the fuck, dude? Sorry if you're actually listening to this podcast. I don't mean anything negative, but it's just so funny that that's such a core mechanic of Dota. And like such a good mechanic in both League and Heroes of the Storm, for like it not to have actually be as needed, I guess, in League. Do you know what I'm talking about by attack moving one?
I'm just like context. I'm assuming like you let your character auto attack and then move and then try to like stand still for the next auto or something.
So it's a way to do it in Dota. Really, is to right click.
Yeah, if you're speaking words, I can't hear you.
Yeah, you just cut out.
I let go of my fucking push talk button.
Oh, for a second I thought Matt was talking to us.
So you A click to move and auto attack the guy, right? And then you right click after the auto attack has left, but before the backswing starts. And then you skip the backswing, and then you A click again, and you do it all like in like the span of a second. And doing that gets you like way more auto attacks in than not doing it, than just like right clicking a guy.
Well, at that point, it's not really an auto attack anymore, is it?
Sounds kind of manual to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying, yeah.
It's pretty much like animation canceling at that point.
Yeah. Because it was when I first played Heroes of the Storm, it's fucking amazing how much of fucking hero canceling like fucking ruins people. Where I'd play against new people who had no idea what I was fucking doing, and I was just running them down, and I'm like, all I'm doing is canceling the backswing. Like, that's all you need to do. Just cancel your backswing. It's not that big a deal. But I guess that's also partially why melee carries are so much stronger in something like Dota versus something like Smite, because you can cancel the backswing so easy and stuff, so you can get like 6 more hits in, whereas in Smite it has to be like what you have to Oh, what's the item? The one that like removes your, or I guess it doesn't do that anymore, but like reduces the movement speed penalty for being in combat.
Yeah, if you land a hit or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. You like still need that item is the problem. That fucking item is so fucking important to melee to be able to even come close to trying to melee carry.
Well, see, Smite kinda has something to that effect, because like each melee has like different combo chains, right? And so like there's technically for some melees certain points where like you're supposed to use an ability, that way you break the chain and start it over. Like maybe your chain faster, maybe it scales better, like that's kind of there, but no one really, at lower tiers really does that a whole lot.
Yeah, and I mean I know you do other stuff like you put Loki's buff just before like the last strike of his attack or the second to last strike or something, because that one's the one that does the most damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know stuff like that. There's a bunch of silly stuff like that in Smite, which is kind of funny. Also, I think nobody had a combo chain before they added New Wa back in the beta. I think she's the first one with a combo chain, and then like everybody. No, it was Isis, and then everybody got a combo chain like after her. That's like when combo chains came into the game. It was like after Isis, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Smite's always just been a bit weird when it comes to carries, though. However, sometimes it is pretty funny. Assault seems to be the best one where a melee carry, and Joust, where a melee carry actually feels like a melee carry for a bit. That's where like a fucking Nemesis or a Bakasura or a Bologna with a damage build will just like fucking roll over your guys. Or a Vamana. Fuck Vamana.
Yeah.
When you get a fucking good Vamana and he has that fucking katana, the hastened katana, he just fucking steamrolls people. Just like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill your whole team before any of you realize what's happening. Because you're gonna be like, oh, he's the tank. I'm gonna ignore. Oh my god, one of my guys is dead.
And then you do turn around and start beating the little guy. All of a sudden, he becomes this giant healing monstrosity.
Yeah, and he fucking starts smashing on the ground. Fucking Berserker Shield Hasten Katana Vama was fucking gross. It was so funny. Like, people are like, I can't even do damage to you. And he's like, ah! He's the reason fucking anti-heal exists. Well, it's not just him, but anti-heal exists because there's weird healing dependency in Smite. I don't know about League, but in Dota, that's never really taken off healing dependency. There's been a lot of shitloads of regen, but not so much healing dependency kind of thing. Which also meant that eventually they did have to put in an anti-regen item in Dota, but...
Yeah, but like, you can be chasing like an Anubis, and all of a sudden he'll go into the jungle, he'll just breath weapon a freaking camp, and now he's full health. And you're like, oh, well, this is great.
Yeah, I know. Anti-heal has to exist for like 2 reasons in Smite, where it's generally like 1 reason in Dota, which is either lifesteal or regen. Because a character is going to have one or the other, not likely both. But yeah, in Smite, it was always like, oh, they'll have lifesteal, or they'll have regen, or they'll have somebody who's fucking healing this guy at full health. So it was like, oh, you need a fucking heal. Or anti-heal item. And it's like, ugh.
Funny, once upon a time in League history, you said you like ever played it all, right?
No, I never played League.
Okay, well, there's one character called Dr. Mundo. And his whole thing was like, he did like okay damage. He's more like a tank of sorts. But his ultimate would heal like, I think it was like 15 or 20% of his health per second for like 10 seconds. So it was basically something like you could like pre-pop before like a big, matchup, or just panic heal with it. Literally, the way people built him is 5 of your 6 items were just this one breastplate that gave you a fuckload of HP. And then the final item was another breastplate that gave you % health regen per second. And so basically, with all that stacked up and his ultimate turned on, he could sit there and face tank the entire 5 enemy team, and it's literally impossible to kill him.
It's an alchemist. That's who he is in Dota 2.
Ah, okay.
I think all of their early heroes, I think, in both games have like an equivalent to each other. And then everything past like probably hero number 50 or something is probably like very different between the games. But I think there's also a thing in Dota versus League, which is that like they'll be kind of counterparts to each other, but they'll usually be generally different because Dota has a lot more passives than League does. I think League, everybody has like one passive, right? And the 4 actives.
Yeah.
In Dota, you generally don't have an unlisted passive, and a passive is something that you have to level up just like your regular skills.
Huh.
Some people have unlisted passives, but it's very character specific. It's like Silencer gains 2 intelligence every time he kills somebody or something. That's like his passive that isn't marked, but or Pudge gains a stack of flesh heap, which eventually will give him HP. But yeah, so that's a huge way of how Dota has changed. For example, Monkey King in Dota, if he hits somebody 4 times, the same person, he gets increased damage and crits. But that's a passive that you have to level. Like, he doesn't have it by default.
Gotcha.
It's also one of the most broken passives in the game, but you have to be good with it. Oh, and this new hero has a passive where every 4th hit she heals herself and all the allies around her, which is cool. It's gonna make her a fucking frontline monster. Besides just her fucking HP gain, she's gonna be so gross. I'm gonna watch like 15 games of her just raffle stomping people. I'm hoping that by the time the international rolls around, she is in captain's mode and we can see people like really play her and at like the super professional level. I think that's their hope. I think that's why she's released now instead of like a month from now. Because international will be in August, I think, probably. So it's a good idea to like get her out now, let the pros play her in their pubs, see what happens, and then be ready to play against her. It's gonna fucking suck if she's added to captain's mode and 0 people pick her. Oh yeah, that was a comment I wanted to make about Dota's meta, I guess, and its balance, is that generally in the international, we have less than 10 characters who were not picked.
Like just across all competitive teams?
Yeah. Going across the entire international tournament. So all 80 or so games.
Oh.
There'll be like less than 10 characters who were not picked. And I know part of that is compared to like League and Smite is that you cannot pick doubles in Dota. So each pick has to be unique, even between teams.
I want to say it's that way in League and Smite as well, at least for like their pro tournaments and stuff. But I also haven't watched them in a while.
Yeah, I think the pro tournaments in Smite might be, and I think the pro tournaments in League too. But I know like normal picking in League isn't, and I know normal picking in Smite isn't also. But that's because it's like blind pick or whatever. It's not like captain's mode or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dota always plays that way. So even in pubs, you can't like double pick. Which could be fun because it like forces you to play somebody else if somebody picks your fucking main character, but it also can make you super fucking salty.
Yeah. I know like one of the fun like jokey modes that Smite would do is like it basically be assault, right? But like you can basically pick as many of like the whatever character you want. It's like you look at your team and like all of a sudden 3 out of 5 of you are Zeus. So it's like, well, might as well pick Zeus too. Let's make it 4 out of 5. Oh, that guy picked Zeus. Okay, 5 Zeuses. Let's do this.
In Assault is like a handful of people. It's gonna be Zeus, it's gonna be Nuwa, or it's gonna be fucking Alpwash, and like that's like everybody's gonna pick one of those guys.
Yep.
Because they all have a fucking broken ability. Everybody, I never fucking get this. I never understand why in Assault Nuwa uses her ultimate at the start of the game, I know that like you can get a little bit of information, but if usually every time I've had somebody do it, they use it so fucking late or so fucking early that nobody's bought anything yet, and they just fall out of like the fountain and like don't have an item.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck, guy? What did you even do? You just wasted everybody's time. Because also in Assault, like nobody hides from you, so it's not really hard to see if like the fucking. And also, you can probably guess the fucking Ares says blink. I'm sorry, I don't need Nuwa to tell me. Fucking spend 50 gold or whatever on a fucking ward and place it down before they show up. That's much better than fucking just do loyalty for no reason. Or summon your stone guys. They actually walk onto the tower and usually spot people.
I was about to say, like, fucking 5 Nuwas. That's 10 terracotta soldiers. You literally just summon your own creep wave every couple seconds.
And then all of you buy the fucking Gaia stone and get crazy HP so that they just like don't die. Everybody's like, why are these so tanky? They don't do any damage, but there's so many of them. They're so hard to kill. Yeah. Oh, also in Dota, like minion shit like that fucking gives you gold.
Oh, that's nice.
So every time there's like a minion guy, you can like sometimes free farm off them. Which is like how Dota decided to balance them. Smite decided to balance them by giving them all timers.
That is a good point, isn't it, Matt?
Anyway, yeah, I'm. Oh, fuck this. Looking at this hero makes me want to play Dota again. She looks so much fun. She's like right up my alley in characters that I play. She's probably like Legion Commander, Axe, fucking not Wraith King, but I guess she's a bit like Wraith King. I guess because she's tanky as fuck, walks in and just doesn't give shits.
I mean, if you do want to play again and maybe want to play with us, I'd be willing to play again. Maybe Juan can talk Jordan into playing with us, and then we have
I'm sure
4.
you try it with us.
Yeah, because it's a new map, so I'd be a lot. There's still a lot I would learn from doing it. Fucking new items. I'd never seen half these items. I don't know what they did, and these were changed, which means I haven't played Dota in a very long time. There's a lot of fucking new hero changes. So I do want to explain some basics that happens in Dota. I guess you would go if you guys were gonna actually all start playing it a little bit to like maybe scratch that PvP itch, maybe see if it scratches it better than WoW.
I've been having a blast in WoW Arena, so I'm not
yeah,
sure.
I know that's where the like itch it's gonna scratch is your WoW Arena itch. It's not gonna fucking scratch your fucking dungeon running itch, but it might scratch that fucking WoW Arena itch because sometimes these fucking games are so good. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Something about Dota. Oh, so there's a few basic mechanics that are kinda Dota stole from other stuff. One would be like the whole talent system, which feels a bit like Heroes of the Stormy, but it's like its own thing, and fucking Dota talents are all really weird. And some of them are like a upgrade to an ability that's like just so good, like when you get it, you like hit that level, hit level 20 and fucking get a good talent, and you're just like, fuck, I'm just gonna raffle stomp people. But yeah, Dota's talents are fucking weird. But in addition to the talents being like a weird like pick that you do for like 4 levels, when you reach the very late end game, past level 27, you get the other talent you didn't pick. So you like start to get to double dip on all your talent trees. Fucking gross. Super late game Dota is really funny to watch, but like it took you like an hour to get there, so.
And see, that's the other side of the coin. It's like, you say it'll scratch the WoW Arena itch, but like, an arena match is done in like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The Dota match is done in like an hour.
Yeah. However, all the new game, the new games that we would play, the new player games, were with you and maybe me, or maybe I'll be coaching, and like Jordan and Jordan would all be like they'd be over in like 30 minutes. Like the bots don't really stand a chance against you guys and other new players. I'm gonna say Jordan probably feels like he's not that much more skilled than them, but I think he probably would still maybe raffle stomp new players. Not intentionally, but he might do it.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Jordan, I don't think you understand how new players are. Like how much below you they actually are.
I've never played the game before, but I have a strong gut feeling that I could probably go in there and pick it up pretty quick and then start shitting in their butts.
Maybe. And then like after like 5 games or something, you might not want to do new player anymore because maybe you're matched against people too weak.
I'm just saying, if you're shitting in their butts, that's where shit's supposed to come out, so wouldn't it just fall back out as soon as they turned around? Or how would you even shit in their butts in the first place?
Jordan, I hate you. Anyway, it's fuck. Good Dota is just so good. I love fucking watching the international. Like it's fucking good. But yeah, you guys seem mechanically good enough where I do not doubt that you guys would be able to pick it up really quick. At least the basics. The problem will be like the problem I feel would be like that point between when you guys are too good for new player mode, but not good enough to play with me. Because if we play together, I might pull you further up to where maybe you won't have fun anymore.
Why don't you reset your MMR? You said that was a thing last podcast.
Yes, I would definitely reset my MMR and see how much that affects us. Because it might affect us enough to where it's fine. But if it doesn't, then I apologize in advance because it will be really rough.
Yep. One of the reasons Jeremy always ended up yelling at me and I never wanted to play again.
Yeah, but you won't have Jeremy there.
True.
Think about it.
You'll have me.
Yeah, so you'll have Juan, and I 100% from playing with Juan feel like he'd be much more chill about stupid shit.
Then I know slightly more about the game than Juan would.
Yeah. We also have to kind of troll each other and be willing to lose games over us doing it. And the reason why is because you enjoy the game so much more then that the losings doesn't hurt as bad and it like eases out the lows so that the highs are still as strong but the lows are much easier. That's why I think a lot of like the really good players are very trolly when they play.
They play on the trolley.
Yeah. They play fucking Troll Warlord and fucking Dazzle and Huskar.
They're getting jelly beans from Toontown.
It is really trolly. Like a fucking stuff you'd get reported for now, I guess. So to each other, it's fine. But like if we were doing it to randoms, it'd be fucking trolly. It'd be fucked up. Stuff like so in Dota, there's a character who can toss you.
Oh,
if
tiny.
he has. Yeah. If he has a target, he'll toss the closest thing to him, ally, enemy, or whatever, and you can toss your friend into the enemy fountain, and it's pretty funny. I've thrown games that, or I've not thrown games that way, but I've thrown allies into the fountain that way. I've got some kills that way too, because sometimes the character will stay alive for a few more seconds, and we'll pull somebody out of the fountain and murder them. Yeah, so. The main thing you would want to do in like new player matches and stuff to like not get kicked out of new player matches or get reported is to, if you have the ancient surrounded, you just focus on the ancient. Because if you try to fucking fountain farm the enemy team, that's like when you're gonna get fucking reported and maybe kicked out of new player mode. Because that's gonna make people salty. Whereas fucking finishing the game and forcing it out so that they can go on to their next, continue on with their life is much better.
Yeah.
It's still like landing a good fucking skill shot. Fuck. Feels so good. There's so many times one of the times that me and Jordan were going over one of our replays and I was talking to him And I was like, okay, I know that we're focused on you kind of learning by watching this replay, learning like your positioning, like kind of seeing what you did wrong kind of thing. You don't have to watch as many replays as some people do, like a professional player, but you should watch like at least one of your own replays and see how fucking bad you are. Like at the start, it's a really good idea. But we were watching one of the replays, and I like had to stop the replay for a second. I'm like, okay, let's not focus on you for a second. Let's focus on me right here, right now, at this moment where we lost this fight over here, and this fucking sucks. But watch me snipe this guy because it's fucking cool. Yeah, because getting a good skill shot is just so fucking satisfying, and it's so much funny too when you're watching a game and you're getting raffle stomped. It's also kind of good to feel that it's like it's not entirely my fault. I kill a lot of fucking people in this game, but like I wasn't just carrying Jordan. Like I was having to try and carry Jeremy because he was like not good enough at the game anymore. When he gets salty, he fucking tilts like crazy, and it fucking ruins games.
Yeah, and it makes me not want to play anymore.
Yeah. That's the main thing we have to avoid is getting salty. And it's so easy to get salty. So it's two things. One, you gotta be kind of trolly, so that like you losing for you trolling, you can kind of accept because it's kind of your fault. But also you have to be like much like more forgiving when you make fucking mistakes. That's one of the huge ones. And like the third thing is to try and catch the other person becoming salty and try to bring them back down to like even them back out. That's like the three things in Dota that will like make the game fun and bring up the downs in the game. That's because when I've been watching professional players, and I've seen like when they're talking in interviews, that seems to be like the magic that like allows them to win, is like being able to shrug things off, being like less salty, and being able to like rescue each other when one of them's becoming too salty. Like your mental state contributes so much to how you play in Dota.
Makes sense.
FYI, it has been over an hour.
Okay, so before we end this,
you want to talk about that other thing you wanted to say?
Yeah, so this is going to cause this to be extra long.
Okay.
Is I'm going to pitch or try to convince Juan that the Snyder Cut is worth watching.
Now, let me preface this with the fact that I absolutely hate DC.
All of DC?
All DC.
Hang
on, you don't like Batman at all?
My thing just froze. Hang on.
Oh no, what are we waiting for?
I don't know.
Is Jordan dying?
My computer is being crazy, and the stream is like dying over here. Okay, it's good. Go.
Okay. It's a bit disappointing. But because I think DC can tell some good stories, it's just like you have to know what you're doing, and I think it's very easy to not know what you're doing with DC. Like I feel like Justice League Unlimited and Batman the Animated Series were like two examples of knowing what you're doing when you're handling those characters.
Yeah. Batman was
have you not watched those series, Juan, or do you just not like them?
It's like I haven't really sat down and watched like the more critically acclaimed stuff. I think what really turns me off the most about DC is just how cheesy a lot of their characters are, and then how cringy the fan base is.
Yeah, the fan base are their own thing. I can't blame anybody who hates anything because of its fan base a lot of the time, because fan bases can be a lot.
Like every time someone's like, "Oh, Batman could do this with enough preparation," I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, that's the thing. True. He needs the preparation, though.
Batman's fucking gross. He doesn't always need the preparation, Jordan. I would have to explain that he is like a fucking weird, not metahuman, potentially metahuman thing, but fuck. Right. So I think a lot of DC also comes from the fact that like I don't think enough people read, and I think the best DC stuff happens in the comic books. Almost universally. Like any of like the really good stuff in Justice League Unlimited usually came from a comic book run. The same is true with like the movies. Anything that's like really, really good usually came from a comic book run. I actually like there's part of the argument that I get, like the kind of corniness to the heroes, and I feel like some of the corniness needs to be there because of the fact that they are fucking ridiculous and they wouldn't be like cool at all to enjoy if they weren't kind of corny. But I think it's like you want Superman to be corny. You don't want like Batman to really be corny. The Flash can be corny. Green Lantern can be corny. But like Aquaman had that whole fuck time in the middle of the 90s where they were like, we don't know what we're fucking doing with this character. So they like chopped off his hand and made his hair grow really long and had him cause people's brains to explode. That all fucking happened.
All right.
But I'd say they actually are like pretty decent characters. But there's like, I think there's like specific runs by specific authors that you'd have to look up and like find out and be like, okay, this one I'm gonna sit through. Where it's gonna be like, you know, maybe like 30 issues of a comic or whatever, and that'll be their run, and you'll like read that run and it'll be like an enjoyable experience. I can guarantee you probably like there's probably at least a couple runs in there that you probably really like. There'll be a ton of shit because of course there is. It's a fucking mass-produced corporation thing.
Yeah.
But
Marvel of late's been going downhill with some of their comics.
Yeah, fucking Marvel went fucking nuts when fucking Marvel introduced Brand New Day. I fucking like gave up on their comic books for a while. That hurt me way too much. And then I did follow with Bendis for a while until the I didn't get all the way to the giant crossover, which like merged all the Marvel universes and made it all fucking nuts.
Right.
But I was in like pretty deep into it for a while. I was following Bendis. I was kind of keeping up with what was happening in Spider-Man, but not really reading Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man was like my thing for a while, and then fucking Brand New Day. And then there's also there's like Civil War. Civil War is a pretty decent like little mini story in the middle, but kind of needs you to know a lot of what happened before it to like really enjoy it. So maybe like Avengers Disassembled is probably like a better part to like read. You probably read Avengers Disassembled, House of M, and then like Civil War. I think if you read those three in that order, you'd probably be fine. But yeah, like some fucking crazy shit happened. Like fucking Wanda went insane and like murdered Hawkeye or something. Anyway,
Snyder Cut. So like, the first one was just rough. It's just really bad dialogue. Story didn't make any sense. Like, I just yeah. So
are we talking
about
the original, the Justice League cut?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, the story is much more consistent and the dialogue is way better. A ton of the bad dialogue came from the Justice League cut. It did not come from the original Snyder version. So the Snyder cut will take out so much of the bad shit from Justice League to make it to where it's a decent movie as compared to what it was before. It's actually a decent movie. Like on its own, it can stand up as like, this is a decent movie. This was kind of fun to watch. I mean, like, I know enough of these characters to where it's like I don't have to get everybody's fucking backstory. If you wanted anything to exist for fucking Flash and Cyborg, fucking Snyder Cut is way better for that because they actually exist. The real characters. They get like good interactions. There's this whole like kind of I got you bro thing between Aquaman and Cyborg that like isn't there in the Justice League cut at all. Like he fucking stands up for him a few times. Like it's fucking like really nice to like it gives you like kind of wholesome feels a lot of the time in that movie more than the Justice League cut did at all. Even though they made the ending so much fucking darker. The ending is 100% better. Like to the fact that the original ending, I know this doesn't like say a lot because the original ending was a fucking dumpster fire, but this ending is like, oh, okay, this is like an ending, like this is cool, this is like a cool moment, and like this is a cool thing that happens, and it like expands on one of the character's powers in a way for cinematic audiences that maybe they didn't know he could do this. It also lets the Flash do shit because Flash is fucking in the Justice League. He's just like running around like saving people or something. He's like not doing anything in the final battle.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is that? Anyway, in this one he actually does. He's like integral to how they win. In this one, there's a lot better storylines. The mother boxes make more sense. The huge problem that I know you and basically everybody else is probably going to have with the movie is these long scenes that don't seem like they belong in this movie. As in, like, there are points like where it'll just be like fucking Aquaman sitting there drinking a fucking beer, and it'll just have like Christian rock blaring in the background, and the scene will go on for like 4 minutes. And you'll just be like, what is this? Why is this here? At least 30 minutes of that movie could probably be cut. I'd say probably an hour and a half of that movie can be cut and like not lose anything. But
to be fair, if I was paying millions of dollars to get Jason Momoa, you better bet I'm going to get millions of dollars worth of screen time from Jason Momoa.
Oh, and have him take off his shirt for no reason? Yeah, that fucking happens in the movie too.
Yeah, like
Comes out of the water, then takes off his shirt to go back into the water.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
Like here's the thing. Like the scene is also really fucking weird. A bit of a spoiler warning, but it's not really a spoiler. It happens really early in the movie. Almost like it's one of the first scenes. It's like the first scene between Batman and Aquaman. And fucking Jason Momoa does this whole like, I'm not gonna join you, and he like, it's like better luck next time, Batman, or something, right? And he like takes off his shirt, jumps in the water, and then like swims away. And then this fucking lady just starts fucking singing, and it goes on for like way too long, and it's like this really close up of her singing to like Aquaman, and you're like, how long has he been visiting this village that they've written this folk song to him? And then at the end of the song she grabs his sweater and smells it.
That's creepy.
Yeah, that's the fucking scene, and you're like, this scene goes on for a bit.
But the ending paid off.
I guess, yeah. I was watching some other people review it, and they were like, I get her in that scene. I get her. I get that wanting to smell thing. The whole song part, whatever, but the smelling Jason Momoa's sweater, right there. Pretty funny. Also, don't go into this thinking it's going to be like a great movie, but like you can go into it thinking it's going to be like, it'll be okay. You can also like break up watching it however you want, because it has very clear breaks of where you could just go like pause it and come back later.
yeah.
It has 7, in fact, specific breaks where the screen will go black. It'll say the title of the next section, and you can basically just pause it and come back. I'd advise probably doing that at least once in the movie, just so it's not like you sitting there for 4 fucking hours watching this shit.
Like 3-hour plus movie I can watch without interruption every single time it's on is Forrest Gump.
Yeah. The problem with watching it with a break is that the best part is the second half. So I'm going to tell you right now that whatever it takes for you to come back to it, if you watch the first like 2 hours or so and you're like, I don't know if I'm coming back to this, I'm going to tell you, whatever it takes for you to come back to it, that's the part that you will like really like, where it will sell you on the movie as being an okay movie. I'm not saying this is the greatest movie of all time. I'm just saying like, and there's like a fight about halfway through that you can like, when that fight's over and it like turns to black, that's like a really good spot to like pause and stop and like come back later. And then you get all the way to the end fight and that whole shit happens. There's also like this really long scene where Diana's just fucking talking to Bruce about the fucking mother boxes, and you're like, do I need this whole scene here? Can we cut half of this out? And the weird epilogue scene.
I paid for Gal Gadot. I'm gonna get Gal Gadot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's not in the scene. She's just talking over it.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah, it's stupid. It goes on way too long. They like beat up Darkseid or something, and you're like, I feel like Darkseid could take this fight. And then someone's like, well, he doesn't have his Omega powers yet. And I'm like, so he's like Gimp Darkseid. Oh,
That's one thing I feel like a lot of superhero movies have kind of struggled with. Like when I watched X-Men Apocalypse, and Apocalypse just stands there all movie and doesn't fucking like take it to someone's asshole. I was like, okay, this shouldn't have gone that way. Which is why I was kind of like impressed when Infinity War came out and you just see fucking Thanos just bend Hulk over and just fucking spank him. I was like, okay, that's what a big bad evil guy should do. Cool.
Yeah. The whole problem with Infinity War is that part where their plan was for Wanda to break the stone, and you're like, Wanda, you can just dust Thanos. You have that power. You're that much stronger than he is. I don't know if you know this.
Well, clearly she didn't at the time.
Yeah, I know.
Did not.
But she could fucking dust Thanos. She's fucking the Scarlet Witch. Like,
Yeah,
what that
really
means.
Yeah, they really did a poor job of portraying like just how diverse her powers are and just how powerful she can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her powers are fucking nuts. Like, it's also potentially possible. This is like super fucking fan theory of me, but it's also entirely possible because after WandaVision, it kind of reveals when she got like her powers, and it was when she touched like the Mind Stone and she saw herself.
Mm-hmm.
If the timeline lines up a bit, I guess it could be a reference that what happened to her in the comic book when she basically becomes this super crazy chaos monster echoes through the multiverse and caused her to become the same thing in the MCU, and that's why she has her powers.
I mean, they are doing that whole thing where they're merging all the universes anyway, aren't they? And they're doing the multiverse stuff, so...
I don't know if they're going to merge them with the comic book universe or any of the comic book universes. But there is that kind of, like, power. Like, her power in the comic book does affect things on the multiversal scale. So it's entirely possible that her awakening to that power in the comic book caused a bleed over effect of her to be able to tap into it in the MCU. Because that's potentially what that hints at by showing her see herself when she sees it. Is that like another universe version of her can bleed over and is able to pull her out like that, or pull out her power. But yeah, anyway, so back to DC. Fucking Lois Lane's in the movie, and she like, I don't know what to say. No matter how much they want me to feel like she's fucking important, I feel like she's not. Something. There's like this movie also expands a lot on that part in Batman v Superman, and I don't remember if it's really touched on at all in Justice League. But the theatrical cut, but which is the alternate timeline that is like Barry Allen comes back from and warns Bruce about, and is like, Lois is important, like don't let her die or something. It hints at, it explains more of that. So like whatever Snyder was intending for that storyline, there's a lot more of that in the Snyder cut. Whatever's going on. Yeah, it's hard to describe. It's like really, there's a lot of crazy shit happening in there. I don't know. I much preferred it to the theatrical release. If this came out instead of the theatrical release, I probably wouldn't have had too much bad to say about Justice League. I would have said that it actually can go places. Just, I don't know if Snyder should still be in charge of it. But maybe he can consult on it or something and like give ideas of where these storylines are going. And maybe someone else can take it over.
Well, you know, this whole podcast, it's called Spider-Man and Elsa. And we talked a little bit about Spider-Man, but we haven't talked anything about Elsa. And that's going to be it for today's podcast.
I was hoping for... Wow, Matt, that was such an insightful take on that Disney princess.
Okay. I'm sorry, I messed up that opportunity, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do that when you kill conversations with something stupid.
I know.
It's gonna be like, well, I mean, she has a part in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Anyway,
barely.
whatever. All right, let's start wrapping up.
Okay, Zach, tell them where they can find you.
Find me over at Raziel Something on Facebook and Twitter and RazielSomething.com, where you can read my stories. There are a few of them, and they are kind of fun. Some of them are not as good as others. Don't be too critical of my Star Trek shit, because it's weird.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Alright, Juan, tell them where they can find you.
Probably at the local county jail.
How much is the bail?
$5 grillion.
$5 grillion. Alright, you hear that, guys? You have to put up $5 grillion to be able to see Juan.
Let's get
They'll only half the cost. They'll only be half the cost of a mount in World of Warcraft.
Alright, Matt, tell them where they can find you. Great. Alright. And you can find me right here at my Twitch at twitch.tv/StupidNerdman, or you can find us on the podcast channel StupidNerdCast, where you're probably watching this, honestly. So make sure you tune in and follow us on Twitter and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.